Hello, everyone. Welcome to Welcome Change. This is Ashoka's Wednesday news series where we hear from social entrepreneurs and their teams from all around the world on timely topics and solutions. My name is Simon Stumpf. I'm calling in from the United States, from Wisconsin. I'm so happy to be here today with two special guests. And also, I suspect we're being joined by a number of folks from their communities, from Koen and Kuldeep's teams, from their fan clubs. So we're going to let folks join, give them a few minutes, or a few seconds, I should say, to tumble in. And we'll be together for the next 30 minutes. So settle in. I'm going to say just two quick things about housekeeping before we get to know these guests and dig into some of these big ideas. The first, well, actually just one thing. There's a Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. We're going to talk for the first 20 minutes. You may have questions that bubble up. If you do, please use the Q&A button at the bottom to share a question, and we'll try to get to those in the latter half of this conversation. I believe that's it. I'm so excited to jump right in. So maybe just the shortest intro first. Koen, where are you calling in from? And if you had to fill out a form and write your profession, what would you put on it?
I'm from Belgium. Hello, everyone. And I would say Director of Take Action Global.
Beautiful. And Kuldeep, same question to you.
I'm calling from Bangalore in India. And my designation is Solve Ninja. Solving
Soul
local
Ninja.
Ninja, yeah.
All right. Yeah, you get taken out of the main line and get questioned when you write stuff like that. So maybe I'll keep it on you. What does that mean? What do you mean by Soul Ninja?
Yeah, so Sol Ninja is in our organization is a person who's taking hyper-local actions in their community and solving local issues. So that's a Sol Ninja.
Ah, okay, beautiful. And both of you, I mean, we're in conversation together with the two of you because you're working in a similar field. You're working in education. You have a similar diagnosis of where we're missing something, and you're bringing a big solution. So, I mean, I guess the two of you have also met before. And so you're not just educators in classrooms tending to, beautifully and deeply to the needs of a classroom full of young people, but you have this education view that's global. So I guess, teachers, how do you get people to go first? Is it like raise your hand or whose birthday is closest to today? I'll go back to you, Koen, because Kuldeep just spoke. So could you say a little bit about the work that you see as common in the values that are shared between you and Kuldeep, and then we'll have him layer in?
Brilliant. Yeah, sure. So I think today we are going to speak about the climate emergency. I think we both are trying to tackle climate change through education. And indeed, we already met thanks to technology, basically. Technology is allowing us to do a lot. Technology is excluding people as well. People who are not able to attend this call are not able to attend our projects and work, basically, which is a shame. But what we try to do is connecting people and making sure that they have quality education. And what that means, I think Kuldeep is really happy to dive into that part. But we are trying to go beyond just learning about climate change, but also students coming up with solutions and taking positive actions. Yeah. So maybe the quality education part, Kuldeep, what would that mean for you?
Yeah, so just building on that, I think I think also, Koen, how we're looking at education, right? I think one commonality is most of the times the perception about education is consumption. It's an implicit power structure wherein information is doled out. The young person is consuming that, and then it's assumed that consumption equals to change, or consumption equals to action. I think one of the things what we are trying to do is, or how we are looking at education is almost from a lens of head, heart, and hand, that yes, information is important, but how can information translate into action, and how can action translate into a collective understanding? And I think that's a common thing from wherever we are working from. So the way we are looking at education is, almost head, how can it encompass head, heart, and hand, and not only information, but information to action, and individual action to collective action. Almost, I think that's the larger structure, if I might say, how we guys are operating.
I just want to appreciate where, in coming into this conversation, I admit I put this in the bucket of, climate change education. But what I appreciate so much about what you both said is this is education. If we're not, taking action or centering, the purpose or the reason for learning on the climate crisis that we're living through and that young people are growing up in, then education sort of misses its mark. So is that accurate to say we're talking about education, but we center the climate crisis and youth autonomy, youth agency? Beautiful. Yeah, this is just I'm gonna ask yes, no questions, and you guys just nod if I'm on the right track. This is gonna be
great.
fun.
No, I agree. I totally agree with you. So the climate landscape is a really huge one, which with activists who are taking action, I think it's great to call on governments, but at the other side of the spectrum, there's people who are not believing in that, so they think it's just like fake. And then in between, there's a lot of people who don't actually know about it. But I think it's important that we do acknowledge that education is really important, so that people are more knowledgeable, but also that they know what to do, basically, because it's not only about knowledge and skills. It's, for me, climate education is about changing behavior as well, and mindset of our communities. And I totally agree with Kuldeep that the best way to go forward with that is not just making sure that students are consuming, but that they're also able to create, basically, making sure that they are content creators. So I really appreciate that part. Yeah.
I suspect in education, there are a lot of people who have strong opinions and you all as educators are hearing a lot of these perspectives. So before we go too much further, I'd love to establish each of your individual authority or expertise in this space by just giving a little bit of a picture of what you do. So one of you leads step out sessions and garbage tours. Who is that? And then what else is it that you're doing? Kuldeep?
Yeah. So
So can you just say a little bit about, like, folks may have come to some of these similar conclusions writing essays or reading things. You all are in classrooms, in community. You've marshaled tens of thousands and millions of people in some cases. So tell us just a little bit about what expertise and experience you bring to this particular work.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the expertise, but I'm definitely sure about the experience.
Okay.
I think Simon, the experience we bring to the table is, one, how do we get young people to translate knowledge or information into action? And it's very important to value action, because one thing, what experience we bring to the table is the embodiment of action. Once you're taking an action, right, at whatever level it is, it unlocks something in you beyond the cerebral. And like what Koen said, like, there's so much information, but we still are calling climate change hoax. So clearly, this perception has to go beyond the thinking level. It has to go to a doing and a feeling level. And I think that is something we bring to the table. The second thing is the experience of young people as partners, not tokenistic, not let's do a cute little project, not that you don't have the agency to solve, or somebody has to provide agency. I think what we bring to the table is, how can young people naturally feel that they have the agency to solve issues? Nobody has to provide them agency, right? They already have it. And I think these are two things which we are good at. Now, that could be doing a garbage tour, that could be building a air quality monitoring station, that could be going and talking to your municipal commissioner and asking him or her about climate budgets, that could be understanding the local policy, whatever is the way. And then it is a multifaceted way of doing it, right? But doing something and then sharing it with the community and building, I think that's something which that's the experience we bring to the table.
And Koen, I'll allow you or invite you to share similarly. What are you working on? But I also know, Koen, from your work that there's this emphasis on teachers as ambassadors, and you equip them in some ways, right, with the 6-week program and other tools for them to step up as ambassadors for their schools and education systems. So if you could add anything on the impact of young people, but you're layering your expertise around teachers and these other catalysts, ambassadors, that'd be helpful, I think.
Thank you. So 7 years ago, we launched a project called Climate Action Project, which unites at this moment 3.5 million teachers and students globally. I'm a bit less interested in the local part and in my own country. I'm really interested in connecting students and teachers from different countries, and also making sure that we have respect for each other's cultures, basically, and different habits and beliefs. And you're all very lucky, dear attendees, because the Climate Action Project is running right now, so you can all join. I will drop the link in the chat in a minute, but we are making sure that we have a shared responsibility and recognition as well with the teachers. We make them ambassadors. We make sure that they shine in media, not us, but them. We make sure that they are all able to grow by learning from each other. They're able to share best practices, but also concerns, what's going wrong in the classroom, making sure that all of them, that they are guided by other teachers as well. A great thing, what I love about the project is going to the next level, a different layer, basically. We noticed that teachers and especially the students really love those virtual interactions, which become intercultural interactions, basically. And there's a lot of appreciation for those, but also for each other. So if we have students in Belgium connecting with students in Kenya, it's really interesting to see what happens. And for us, it even became our way to fight polarization, which is a different global threat, but it's really wonderful to see what happens when you all have something to focus on, which is climate change, basically. Yeah.
This is beautiful. There's no reason why in even math education, we couldn't connect with other students globally, but it's so natural in this climate action education. And it resonates so much with me, how powerful it would be to have those virtual, but really meaningful connections. Can you, I mean, this all sounds so intuitive and obvious. And then the fact that you've reached 3 million people, you know, Koen, or that you're spreading around India and beyond, Kuldeep, like makes intuitive sense to me. And yet we know that there are headwinds. There's challenges that you all face. Koen, I believe you were saying, you know, scientists say we don't have time for education. We need action today. We know young people, you've alluded to this, Kuldeep, the fact that young folks feel like they're being burdened with solving this problem or like put in tokenistic roles. What do you experience as the biggest challenges to something that, you know, to you all and to the folks gathering here today likely feels so obvious and so intuitive?
Yeah. So for me, that would be, we have been working 6 years bottom up, basically, trying to reach teachers through social media, through other ways, through partners. The real challenge has been the top-down part, making sure that governments are in as well. It's great to see that at the climate conference this year in December, which is called COP28 in Dubai, that it will have one dedicated day to climate education, which means that the UN, UNESCO, and all of the governments are taking it serious right now. So that was a big challenge for us, basically. Yeah.
I think building, and since Koen mentioned about top down, right? I think one is these binaries we have created as top down and bottom up, right? I think there is subscription to only one way of operating over globally, right? So we look at even climate education sometimes as top down. Now, for example, if you go to a rural part in the country, and there's a great Ashoka Fellow, his name is Harish Hande, he was telling me the other day, you know, how can you talk about climate mitigation or climate adaptation in Hindi, Telugu, Kannada, in India? Like these words are also so Western in nature, right? So I feel that there is the struggle we are facing is that every school of thought believes that there is only one way to solve for this problem. So it's becoming either this or that, right? I think it has to be this and that, and it's like a relay race. Everyone has a role to play as long as we can acknowledge, right? And COVID taught us that, right? COVID taught us so much value to bottom up, so much value to anti-fragility and things like that. So I think the struggle we face, Simon, is sometimes bottom up work, hyper local work is not seen significant enough. That is one, right? It feels very scattered, it feels very distributed, it does not have a beautiful flowy narrative saying, it does not come across as an engineering formula that A plus B is going to lead to C. And therefore we feel a lot of dismissiveness towards hyperlocal, and it's seen as very scattered and distributed. That's one struggle we face. The other struggle we face, and it is a reflection of the world itself, right, is how young people are treated. Right? We still think young people will do a project, will have this wonderful, cute little experience. We are not looking at our work as a way of life. So thinking of sustainability, thinking of climate action has to be a way of life. So we are looking, the struggle we are facing is there's no space for embodiment. There is only space for consumption and, some level of transaction, which makes us feel in control. And these are the two struggles we face. So yeah, people say it's cute, it's nice, it's needed. Yeah, but so what? Yeah, young people are taking actions in their community, but so what? And yeah, sometimes you feel angry, sometimes you feel sad, sometimes you have pity, sometimes you ignore. So it depends on what time of the day somebody says, so what, I have an adequate reaction for that.
Beautiful. Here, in prepping for this conversation, we talked about show and tell, and I feel like this would be a moment where so folks can really experience the agency, the creativity of these young people, and we all can enjoy one of our favorite parts of growing up in school, right? I know you each have brought something for show and tell today, and in showing what young people in your community have come up with in this lane of climate solutions. I'd love to see what you've brought. So maybe Koen and then Kuldeep, we can go back and forth a little bit. And as we're doing this, folks are going to be engaged, but if you could multitask and share some questions, we'll try to get to some of those as well. Koen, what did you bring today? Oh, I think we lost your audio. It happens.
Wait, I'm sorry.
No, it's all good.
So let me check my desk. What I really like is those small do-it-yourself examples. For some students, it's drawing something or working on concepts and prototypes in cardboard. But some students really came up with really brilliant stuff, basically. And what I really liked is this solar light, which charges during daytime and which you can use on nighttime, and it has a small battery. It is just like, I would say, a few dollars. But the great thing is that we had students in Portugal and Canada working on those. There's different models, basically. And the great thing is that we had an actor from Hollywood bringing 200 of those solar lights to the slums in Kenya. So imagine being a student working on a solution for other families. I think that's really, really great. And just on an extension of that, you can also have like small cars, really, really inexpensive, which drive on salt, or clocks which work on water. No battery, no electricity, no nothing, just water. So you have devices working on solar, salt, water, and other stuff. And I think that's brilliant. Will that save and change the world? No. But I think it allows students to think about what we're using every day. And maybe one of those students will do his or her PhD at university, and it will be something about sustainability. Yeah.
It gets to Kuldeep's point around the way of life, the problem-solving mentality, and I'm also realizing I was saying show and tell is my favorite part of school, but if I had robotics class or this climate change education, I might change my tune. Kuldeep, what do you have to share on behalf of your young folks?
Yeah, so I think two things. in in India, we have a waste problem, garbage problem, and the garbage is slightly more, the wet waste, the food waste has more moisture in it. And therefore, a lot of people don't compost waste at home, and that's a pretty big issue. So almost 5-6 years back, very similar. This was a small project we did. This is a glass which is closed. There was food waste in it, and we did an experiment of using crushed coconut leaves as a way to compost food waste in it. Today, this has become a product by itself, which is helping 3,000 households in India to compost waste in their own house. So just that small point, right? A simple action of wanting to experiment composting and then providing them a community around them, and then somebody taking it to the next level. And today, here you have a young climate entrepreneur, if you want to call it, right? The second thing I want to show, I don't know if it's clear, sort of, probably.
It's a cell phone, but no, I can't make out the app. Sorry.
Okay. So you can see probably. So this is basically a India map for people who can see. I think it's.
There it's easier to see. Yeah.
So and young people are giving data of what is happening in their regions. Last year we had one young person in Punjab map 30,000 data points of where stubble burning is happening in Punjab, which leads to a lot of air pollution. This data was taken by this young person, then took this data, went to the government, and it actually played a small role in affecting a policy change in that own region. So I'm giving one very hard example, which is very product based. But since I come from Bangalore, which is the Silicon Valley of India, it was my dharma to show you some tech solution as well. So I showed you the tech solution as well.
Beautiful. And that actually gets to one of the questions that's coming in the chat around, are you seeing examples or evidence of the solutions sparked by young people affecting or changing the behavior of adults? And you just shared one, Kuldeep. I think earlier, Koen, the work at the policy level and education ministers and COP adding an education day is probably another example. Is there anything else you would add in terms of like how you see the young people and their actions being taken up or affecting the actions of adults in their lives?
Yeah, so it's really crucial for our project and our community that we make clear that it's not just the teacher taking initiative and sharing. It's really important that they allow the student-centered approach so the students can come with concerns and ideas. And a great example is that we had a student and his father did a marathon in Canada, and he got water, which is called a water bubble without plastic, really sustainable. And then the teacher was like, hey, how did they create that? And then they made it themselves with students aged 10. So they made their own water bubbles, which you can eat without plastic. And that's a great example, I think. But the research has been stating that students have a huge impact on their parents. So they can change the lifestyle at home as well. So I think there's several ways to think about this, but the teacher, frankly, needs to be open to making sure that the students are able to point out certain directions. I think,
So I'm not as like, probably theoretically, I believe that young people have an influence on their parents. I think there is a certain strata, probably at least from the vantage point I come, urban elite in India, who have an impact on the adults, if we might say. There is a long way to go. I feel that the voices are not heard. One of the reasons I feel is the way in our country measurement is done and assessment is done. So I feel one of the ways we can probably change the conversation is if we acknowledge change making, and probably that can get adults to kind of listen. That's one. The good news is that there are at a more top level, there is a conversations on curriculum and things like that. But I still feel there's a long way to go, wherein adults and young people are equal partners. I'm not seeing that. I'm not seeing that very well. Yes, if what I'm seeing is if there is a large base of young people, when I'm saying young, in this case, I mean 18 and above, 18 to 23. If there's a significant number, then that becomes a good pressure group for adults to take note of and take a stock. What do I mean by that? For example, recently there was a policy intervention in one of the cities in the country. And when we got back to the government and we said, hey, listen, 15,000 young people had an opinion on this, they were willing to listen. So there is some merit in numbers and as a collective. But I am not that optimistic. I see people being very flippant about what young people are doing. And at max, there is a acknowledgement, but I don't think that acknowledgement is internalized acknowledgement. It's a more intellectual acknowledgement.
We talked earlier about some of the headwinds in like climate education. I mean, yeah, we're facing headwinds around the way we as a society or societies globally see young people, and schools. Like what happens in schools? Schools are places. I love, again, this idea that it's a place where we form habits, these ways of being. And I wonder if you all, when you step into a school, I didn't ask if you're parents, but if on behalf of your students or young people in your life, whether they're your own kids or the other young people you know and love, if you step into a school and you say, yes, this is a school that I want my young person to spend time in, what is it that you see and what are you looking for? Contrast with a school that you step inside and you feel less alive, and you wouldn't trust this institution, this physical space, this set of activities to tend to your young person and their needs in this world we live in today. So what would you be looking for? What would be a green flag that there's more happening here, aligned with this beautiful vision that you've all put out?
Yeah, great. It's a great question. And I'm just like, it's a question which can also put somebody off guard. But I think the first piece is curiosity. Not to, sometimes we present criticality as curiosity. So I don't mean like if I go to a school and the sense of inquiry is coming from a space of questioning to just gauge information, whereas curiosity on how things work, I think that's a great sign of a school. That is one. The second thing for me when I go to a school is how the school values are being embodied by the students itself. So you can have a fancy vision and mission, but the embodiment, right? And the embodiment is seen in small things. How are the conversations happening? What is happening when the teacher is not around? These are very, very big indicators for me. And the third thing for me is how teachers take feedback. And that's a very, very big indicator for me. Like, are the teachers taking from a space of openness, or there is intellectual openness and not imbibed openness? And I feel if these three things happen with role modeling of teachers in action, that's the fourth part. I feel change or building culture in that school is very, very fast. That's like, this is at the top of my mind. When I walk into a school, intuitively, this is what I'm scanning and checking. I talk to 4 students. I see how the teachers are responding. Like if I tell a teacher, hey, why do you have this? And immediately the teacher's response is something that I know, okay. Or the teacher is like, okay, where are you coming from? Why are you seeing this? So these are certain, tricks of the trade you pick, and then you kind of work around that.
Beautiful. Koen, what do you look for? What do you scan for?
I do have a son. He's 12, went to a new school, and I noticed that my wife and I have different expectations, basically. For my wife, it needs to be a bit more academical, needs to be quality, needs to be a good knowledge delivery. She wants to be sure that he will have all opportunities to go to university in 6 years, She works at the university. For me, it's completely different. I want him to feel safe. I want him to be happy at school, because I want him to have like a growth mindset as well. And we have different focuses, basically. And I think that's a healthy situation as well. And I think for me, it's important that they are able to become like world citizens who are able to work on solutions and not only focusing on consuming. And I think the great thing about education is that you can have both, basically, in all subjects, with all ages, with all teachers. It's just, I think a crucial part is that teacher training, that all teachers are being properly trained, and that can be an issue sometimes. Yeah.
Beautiful. I mean, what's so encouraging about both of your perspectives here is that as much as these are, we're not there yet, right? You have to strive as a school community to make some of these changes, to embody, to create safe, spaces, to create happiness and curiosity at a school, but we're not, it feels like it would be within reach. We're not saying that you need a robotics lab and solar panels and things that are just going to immediately, so have people opting out. So no wonder you have such a huge and global group of people who can connect with your ideas and what you offer. We're at time, but you all should get the last word. So do you have a call to action, a thing that just didn't come up in the flow of this conversation, or something something else that you want to impart with the group who's gathered here today or with each other? And maybe Koen, we'll start with you.
Yeah. What we noticed during the past 7 years is that also people are really passionate about climate change. They sometimes not really know what they can do themselves. They're pointing to governments and big firms and I think what is really interesting is to know what you can do yourself, small actions, small and positive actions. And for that, we created an app, Earth Project. It's free. You can find it here. Give it a try. It will show you the amount of carbon you're avoiding and reducing by taking those actions. You can plant trees, localize, etc. So it would be great if you can take some small actions yourself. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Yeah, Koen just stole my pitch, so I have nothing else to add. Yeah, but again, similar. You can log on to our site. So three call to actions. One is if you're planning to replicate, or not replicate, if you're planning to get young people to solve local issues in your country, we have some learnings around how to get young people. And somebody asked this as a question, so I'm trying to even answer this question, that there are two parts to taking action. One is taking action for the first time, and then there is taking actions consistently over a period of time. So we would be very happy to collaborate, one, on our experiences of how we can run virtual and offline communities, so that it's a lifelong activity and not a one-time thing. The second thing what we can help is we have built some very simple open source tech tools which can help in measurement of young people's skills. We are happy to open source and share it with all of you. So you can go to our website, rebenefit.org. I will type that out and you can get back to us, but doesn't matter. You can also go to earthproject.org or rebenefit.org. We are on the same side of this battle, so it's fine.
Beautiful. Yeah, no, beautiful. And thank you both for coming together, for sharing, and for everyone who joined us today. So for those of you who joined us today, we'll send a follow-up email with a link to the recording of today's conversation. We encourage you to take a look and share it. We hope you join next time as well. We gather here every Wednesday where we learn about the future and how we can live into powerful roles like youth climate change agent and education ambassador. So thank you so much for sharing these opportunities today. We hope we see you all soon. Have a great rest of your week.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.